All right, so EA dropped another blog today talking about a lot of gameplay stuff. It sounded like it was around, game day momentum, but there's a ton of information in here. And one thing I want to say before we get into it, because we're going to talk a lot about it, is just because they write it down doesn't mean it's going to work perfectly or the way we want it to work or expect it to work. This is just what they're saying, so take it with a grain of salt, please, because so am I. Let's see some of these changes that they're talking about. If you're looking to build the best team in Madden, make sure you head over to MMOEXP.com to avoid the packs and save some racks. Use code CC for 5% off. The link is in the description below. Fastest coins, cheapest coins. Use code CC. We'll see you guys on the sticks. 5% off. Be great. Hey, what is going on, Madden family? If you are here looking at Madden 22 news, hey, you're in the right place today. Lots of information came out today, kind of a little unexpected. I thought we were just going to get some more information around momentum and all that, and we did get some of that, but we got a lot of other pieces of information, and they actually give us a decent amount of detail too. So I'm kind of excited about some of the stuff they're talking about. And again, just because they're mentioning it or they talk about it doesn't mean it's going to be perfect or the way you want it or I want it, right? It's kind of, there has to be a balance for everyone who plays the game. So some of it's going to be good and some of it's not going to be good, and we're going to give you guys my full beta breakdown. Again, a lot of the beta breakdown that we're going to talk about in another video, we have to tell so they can take it as a beta. So let's roll into this. Let's take a look. There is this article up, which you can go read on the EA website if you want to go back and read some more about it. But they talked about, sharing more details with dynamic game day as well as tons of additional core gameplay. And I was like, oh, okay. All right, well, let's see what they got. I'm not going to cover a lot of the dynamic game day stuff in here. We've talked about it quite a bit and how it all works and how it's going to be. The biggest thing that they mentioned in here is that the home field advantage is not going to be an online MUT gameplay, okay? Head to head, weekend league, it's not going to be in there. Which then probably also means it's not going to be in, MCS stuff too. And I know that's kind of, that's going to be a different point for people to understand and to grasp. So while this is a new feature and I don't dislike it, the only reason I didn't want it in MUT was because being the home team is something that is completely out of our control. And then going forward with that, even sometimes in these games, you can dashboard before the game starts and the game wouldn't count. If that happened to be in the game and you weren't the home team, it was going to be a problem. People were going to be home team hunting essentially, right? Cool. Also, what would have happened with the way it's set up is that everyone would have been the Packers. Now, of course, they could change the Packers stuff, but we would just pick the next most OP stadium and just kind of roll with it. Whatever the best one is the one everyone would use and you should use. But the home field advantage is not going to be in MUT. I'm okay with that, again, because we are not in control of being the home team. As the away team, you are already at a disadvantage playing the game each and every time. Not a huge disadvantage, but it's a disadvantage simply because of input lag, especially if you are East Coast playing West Coast or just essentially just playing across country or the long distance. There is certain points of input lag. You've experienced it, whether you realize it or not, it does happen. So there's already some inherent advantage, and that's just the way the internet works, right? When you're connecting to someone who's far away, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. That's why, in MCS events, having the higher seed was always really important to these players, whether you know it or not. That's the truth. Okay? But let's look at this other stuff again. I'm not going to cover momentum. We've talked about it enough. We know about it. If you want to see more and read what they've written, by all means, go check out the website here for all this stuff. But what I want to focus on is this gameplay enhancements, okay? Really important. And this is a lot of stuff that we have asked for, honestly. In Madden 22, based on your feedback, they made core innovations to blocking, tackling, catching, player movement, and much more. Player movement has been a thing. If you guys saw my video where we were testing 99 speed in the beta, we did find out that across a distance of 40 yards, the players were moving about 3 frames per second faster, which is something, right? Again, it's almost that equivalent of the gunslinger animation versus not. And something like gunslinger, I still wish that you don't have to have it, but hey, it is what it is. So they're obviously trying to work on making players cut faster, because again, that was the biggest problem with next gen Madden. You guys saw gameplay from me, and you saw gameplay from a lot of other people, or you played it yourself, and you noticed that acceleration and those bursts, they weren't there. At the top speed, the game was fine. They ran fast, but getting to that top speed from that first 5 yards, whew, not great. Probably just bad. Just bad. Now, I don't know here if this means that there's more changes coming to what we've seen from the beta, or this is just based on the beta. I don't know, right? I don't know. So they talk about big emphasis in Madden 21 was route data, and they've added a bunch of new play-specific routes. Cool. In addition to more routes, using signature cuts and releases off the line. Again, kind of whatever. But right here, more explosive player movement. You'll see ball carriers and defenders showing maximum effort in their posture when sprinting, and using new animation to explode faster through starts and cuts, which was a critical piece of feedback. And it is. Again, it's the starting and the cutting, those movements, that from 0 to 5 mile an hour sort of movements that players would have, was a huge problem. Again, was it better in the beta? Yes. Does this mean that it's going to be better than the beta? I don't know, but I hope so. You'll feel smooth and explosive control for QBs inside and outside the pocket. That is true, for sure. If you guys played in the beta and you were able to use like Baker Mayfield or something like that, he flies around. If you were in the beta and you used the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, he flies around. Quarterback movement in next gen was always better without escape artist than current gen. They just were. You didn't need escape artists. Again, a lot of that was based off of the player movement, but more importantly, the players trying to catch you and chase you down. Again, we'll see how that works. Also changes to ball carrier controls, more tools, essentially like the skill moves, right? In the past, it was you just juke or spin, and now they have changes and variants based on holding, your turbo button versus letting go of it, or acceleration, whatever they want to call it. Get you shorter moves, quicker moves, bigger moves, as long as you're not trying to run at top speed when starting the move. Okay, again, that's fair. You can't be running full speed and juke. You kind of like you let off a little bit, and a lot of that is kind of stick work, really. Stop and go, kind of the idea of how you have to release the triggers to really do any moves like that. Okay, cool, fine. Luna, the master skill, will give you more options as ball carrier. Again, cool. I think giving legitimate stick talent a benefit for running the ball is a huge thing, as opposed to just players who just run into players or swerving while running and stuff like that, which was a little OP. Okay. Tackling, significant upgrade across the board. There were 2 problems I had with tackling in Madden 21. Hopefully those are fixed in here. Again, these are just words on paper at this point. One thing was broken tackles, happened way too often. And 2, it was the way that defenders pursued you and how you could manipulate that pursuit very easily with swerving. Okay. Also plenty of times when you would sort of, you would be in that sort of that scared straight position where like you could hold the ball carrier's pocket essentially, but you couldn't tackle him, right? For whatever reason, I don't know. Hopefully stuff like that gets fixed. So some of the stuff they mentioned here, touchdown player tackles, who cares? I guess that looks cooler, but whatever. Sideline tackles, having different tackling interactions near the boundaries. Again, I think that's fine. More of a push tackle out of bounds would be better. Early hurdle tackles will intelligently fill animation gaps. Again, cool. Gang tackles, cool, whatever. And then they talk about broken tackles. They will have a bigger impact on the game. As we know, quick broken tackles leave the ball carrier in control during the interaction, and a more robust system for broken dive tackles will occur more frequently. I'm not sure if this means that there's going to be more broken tackles, or if it means that when you break a tackle, you will have more control, because a lot of times you're kind of stuck in that broken tackle animation and all that. And whenever you get stuck in an animation in these games, I'm not a huge fan of it, but we'll see how that works. New tackling momentum logic will better detect size, speed, and traits of players involved. Again, does that mean that you want to be using Derrick Henry or not? I don't know. We'll find out and see. But this is the big one here. Catching controls. This is good. We made a lot of changes. Look, like, read this. We made a lot of changes to significantly decrease the frequency of multiplayer catches. To me, this is a really big change, and it's something they've really struggled with since Madden 16. The idea of bringing in the aggressive catch, right? Again, it's to be a little arcadey, but while we kind of prefer more of an arcade style of game, I also want someone throwing into double coverage. Single coverage is its own thing, but double coverage, triple coverage, I feel like players still came down with the ball at a decent rate. I feel like it was less recently, but one of the other things they talked about here is there will be no more rack multiplayer catches. There was no more contextually questionable short yardage multiplayer catches, all right? Unless slowdowns by receivers with a step or two of separation. So the rack stuff is big because the defenders would animate poorly when you would try to do like a rack catch or a rack bomb. So that was obviously a bit of an issue. Seems like they're addressing it. The short yardage stuff, I'm not 100% sure what they're talking about there, but slowdowns by receivers with a step or two of separation. Yes. How often someone's open and you're like, what are you doing? They're just slowing down. If it's a badly thrown ball, sure. A lot of times the ball's not badly thrown. They would slow down. They would miss the ball. They would be caught. Just, yeah, all sorts of not good stuff. What you will see more single player catching scenarios where both players are independently playing the ball. Okay, cool. Mid-air's added functionality so that the intended outcome will be respected on any tackle that takes place during the catch. Again, this is something where it's kind of written a little oddly here, but what this means is that when someone would throw up a ball that was, we'll call it covered, right? You could tell if you were going to score and break the tackle just based on the animation. So they're separating the animation for defending the pass and the tackle. Okay? So maybe that means some of those covered passes, instead of going for touchdowns, they only go for the 30 yards, right? Again, that's fine. I still think that you should have broken tackles on catches like that, because that does happen. How often someone catches the ball. Defenders kind of put themselves in a bad spot trying to play the ball or play the receiver sometimes. But we'll see how that goes. Sideline catching logic, I didn't think it was bad. The only thing right here, and then you notice on just lower overall players, is they would do a really poor job of catching on the sidelines. Toe drag catches didn't really exist. They were kind of like jump out of bounds and catch the ball. We'll see how that works. And then catch height threshold so that big receivers will have a larger catch radius and defenders attempting to swat the ball will have a larger range. Does this mean that size is going to matter a little bit more? Now, we always liked big receivers because they're a little more physical. They're going to break more tackles and all that. But does this mean that now having the bigger defenders is really going to matter? Because at the same point, you could put Honey Badger on Randy Moss, and he's going to get the same type of animations, the same height on his jumping and all sorts of stuff like that within the pass defense animation. So is bigger players better here? Again, we'll have to really see. Have to really see how that works. But if so, again, make stats matter. One of those stats is height. Weight. Make them matter. Cool. Blocking. They talk a lot about blocking in here too. And I will be honest, whenever I read about blocking, I don't have faith in it. And we shouldn't, to be honest. Blocking is super random on how it works. The one thing that they mention here, which is as key as possible, and I don't even know if this is a change, but this is something that every single player who plays Madden online against a computer needs to realize. Your pocket presence will probably trigger more sacks for you than the just defensive ratings by the way that you play. A lot of times when players play this game, they have bad pocket. They move left and right, too far. They move up and, down, too far. Having really stable feet in the pocket is an absolute advantage. That when you watch, if you watch the best players in the world, say, oh, they're just running the same passes. Watch their pocket with their quarterback. Phenomenal. It's phenomenal. If you start to get sacked too much in the game, you should realize, hit those record buttons on your Xbox or your PlayStation and see what's going on. Did I drift back 12, 13 yards? That's pretty far. Did I get a little outside of the tackle box there? Maybe. Am I the one triggering those pass rush animations? Sometimes, for sure. Them calling it out here, again, we'll see how that is, but they are saying have a better pocket because the pass rush is tuned up. Essentially, that's the way I read this. Okay. Run blocking as well. We'll see how this stuff works. And then here's another kind of interesting thing here, right? AI controlled pass rushers will have access to non-engaged speed rush moves on the edge to bring them to parity with user controlled rushers. Okay. These moves will bring more pressure to the pocket, and they use a matchup formula of pass block finesse versus finesse move. So they are outwardly telling us this. I've been telling you guys this. I know Gut Fox has been telling you guys this. When you're looking at the ratings of cards or linemen, it is pass block finesse goes up against finesse move. Pass block power goes up against power move. The actual pass block rating doesn't really do much. It's just kind of a number out there, okay? This is your reminder. Do that. Core improvements. Lots of this stuff is cool. Increased ranges for pass lead and pass trajectory. Cool. I think pass leading is kind of a skill. Make it work that way. Decrease the effectiveness of over-the-top coverage adjustment when guarding routes with cuts. I didn't really feel like that was crazy, but okay. I mean, sure, whatever. Increased get-off speed of blitzing defenders so they're faster their gaps. This was a big issue with run defense. Okay, this was a big issue with run defense last year, for sure, in next gen, and just the general speed again, because when they were when you have that movement, right? They're moving so slow to start. They need to be able to just attack and engage, not even react, just go, right? Because by the time reaction happens, a lot of times for these players last year, bad things were already happening. Gaps were being filled, people were being blocked because they're standing there waiting for a second. I don't need them to wait. In this game, I want them to be moving. And that's something that may actually, depending on how they did it, it will either need to be, it will probably have to be tuned one way or another at a certain point. New impact blocks, respect player momentum. This is something I know Zan would someone like. Bigger offensive linemen dominating smaller defensive backs inside the tackle box. Sure, that's fine. Multiplayer scramble sack interactions. Not sure what that is. Reduced match distance on blocks from the rear and back shoulder. Which again sort of leads to me saying worse pass blocking. Retuned high throw mechanic to make it more effective. It should be. These are professional quarterbacks out here. They should know how to throw a high ball. You shouldn't have to throw it 5-10 yards over someone's head constantly. It doesn't need to be overpowered. High point catching doesn't need to be overpowered. It does not need to be overpowered. But the passes should have been more accurate. And that's all I'm asking for here. Hopefully that's exactly what this means. Major tuning to multiplayer catching, reduce the frequency. Exactly what we talked about. Pursuit logic. Again, I don't know if I trust this or not. We'll see. Reaction time for defenders when in position to play the ball versus the pass. Again, we'll see how this works. Stuff like that when it comes to reactions. Does this mean that if my DB has his back to the ball, he's going to instantly start throwing around? Or, I don't know. We'll find out and see. And then this random teammates help people off the ground. When they talk about playbooks, a lot of this stuff, you know, adding new plays, new formations, updating the playbooks is great. A lot of what they always talk about playbooks is how they're designed on like a simulation standpoint here. Again, I'm not going to really cover that. But they call out all the new formations and nearly 300 new plays. I did not get to look at all of these, but I'm excited to now have a list and go through it. We do get one new defensive formation, 1-5-5 double A gap, which is something that I think people will like to have back, at least in theory, in name, right? We talk about pass coverage here, and I appreciate the work that they did here, okay? I appreciate the work that they identified the biggest problem plays, okay? Dagger is a great play. PA crossers is a great play. 5 wide verticals. 5 wide verticals is not hard to defend, but okay, I get it. Tight end attack. Again, that was a pretty spam play too. Sure, fair. And gun bunch mesh spot. I don't know how mesh spot is one of the top 5 plays, but whatever. We'll go with that. So what they started talking about here is that they tried to see why this is good and how can they make their coverages better to defend these plays, because what these plays really have, I feel like mesh spot's probably the wrong name here. It should be mesh post, but I think it's typo. Just crossing routes, right? Crossing routes, post routes, all sorts of stuff. How do we get those to defend better? Well, personally, I think Zone Drops did a really great job of that. I'm not really sure. It feels a little handholdy here. You know, I'd be more worried about some of those deep corner routes, which Zone Drops couldn't cover. But again, hey, they went through to do some of this stuff. Backpedal, turn, run, transition. Again, that's fine. Make some of these zones operate a little bit better. Sure. Cover 3 in the beta was pretty good though. Using leverage, again, that's something we'll see. Vertical crossing routes I talk about here. The backpedal transitions will put defenders in a better position to play those routes. Again, what they're talking about here, and let's be honest, is the stock versions of these plays. So a lot of people probably run these plays very stock and just hike, right? But in a deeper play design, you're creating a route concept to push zones away to open up different parts of the field. So we'll see how that works. Rallying to the flats, significant update was made to curl flats and cloud flats. Again, cool. They were playing crossing and drag routes that come off the field pretty well last year. I agree with that. Dropping at the right angle towards the receiver. Sometimes, sometimes for sure. Receivers were able to easily catch the ball and turn up field for big yards. In Madden 22, they're going to be in a better job. What they mean by turn up field is air truck. So we'll see how that works. This one is I'm so happy to see them say this. I'm so happy. The back of the end zone was a nightmare. A nightmare to defend. And they identified it here. Now, is it fixed the way we want to do it? I don't know. We'll find out. But improving logic inside the red zone and the end zone, especially deeper coverage players defending routes in the back of the end zone. Thank you. Previously, defenders were stopping about 5 yards short in the end zone. Thank you for identifying this. Thank you for telling us that you're fixing this. Why did you not attempt to fix this last year? It was a problem. I don't know. Better late than never here. Animation improvements. Cool. We're excited for fans to try out improvements. We've made the pass coverage. Again, I feel like what they're talking about here in this blog was not in the beta when it comes to pass coverage. Yes, cover 3 was good. It was harder to bomb coverages and all that, but those crossing routes were just beating you. They were just beating you. And that was something that they called out before, right? They called it out in their little notes. So we'll see. And then right here, will game day momentum work in Ultimate Team when playing online modes? Home field advantage will not be enabled. Look out for more information in August. Okay. It didn't say game day momentum. It just says home field advantage. So I still assume that a lot of this, the actual momentum stuff is in there, but the home field advantage, aka the M factors, are not. So lots of information in here. I know this is a longer video, but again, I think a lot of this is really important. Again, if EA or any game company, when they put out notes about their game, when it was 100% accurate and correct, we'd live in a phenomenal world. But that's not the case. It's not. If we get some of this stuff for launch and it works exactly as expected, great. Some of it's broken. Okay, well, hopefully that they will readdress it. We don't know. But lots of information here. Again, go read it and sort of take it in yourself. So many things have the positive potential here if they work correctly. We'll find out. But I'm excited to play the game. just as a fan of Madden, as a fan of football. I'm excited to play this game and see how it really is. Is it better than the beta? It's got to be better. Got to be better. But we'll see. Catch you guys later. I'm out.